we don't know until we are willing to look, until we're willing to like do it and then look at it and go, okay, wait, something's not working. Something's got to change. And I you know, as you're looking at it, it's not outside. You know, it's not the competition. It's not the way they rigged that thing. It's not your trainer. It's not the way that you know, it's like, it's something inside of us. And, you know, the only way we can get through it is through it. There's no easy way around that.
The way that I will always reframe failure, and it's really hard in the moment because, man, like when I told the story to my brother, he had been watching the videos on social media and heard about, like, he knew 3.5 years ago when I declared this goal, and they hadn't heard what happened, and I explained to them what happened, and he just laughed. He's like, "Oh my God, all that training and all that time and money for nothing?" I'm like, no, it was exactly the opposite. That was one viewpoint. I'm like, that's fine, but the assumption was, well, you did that, you failed, so now you move on. And my response is very different. And what's interesting, and this is one of the things I talk about in another podcast with one of the world's foremost experts and researchers on limiting belief and the chatter in our head and the voices that we hear, what's my episode with Ethan Cross, and we can put a link in the show notes. But it's this idea, first of all, that you can hear somebody else talk about you, and you're like, that's amazing, but you can never talk about yourself that way. Mm-hmm. But if I were to ask you the question, and I've done this to students, and it's amazing what happens. If I said, I want you to explain all of your best virtues. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm a pretty good director and designer, but I've got so much to learn. But if I said, describe to me Mark Gant in third person, you'd sound a lot more like that other person, right?
Right.
And I did Ninja with a really good friend of mine who I met through the whole Ninja journey. And he also failed very, very early. And he was like supposed to be going to like Vegas finals. Like he's done it 4 or 5 years. Like he's legit, right? And to me, I was like, oh my God, like I just failed. This is so embarrassing. But then when it happened to him, immediately I was in coach mode. And he's like, oh, how can I do this anymore? Like I've let my family down and I quit. I'm done. I'm like, dude, you've got 2 choices right now. Either you've worked this hard to get here and the end of the story is you failed on this obstacle and you suck. Or this is just going to be a really, really good part of a much better story when you succeed. Choosing to move forwards or not is a choice. What happened here, it is what it is. You can choose to react however you want. But the choice is it failure or was this just feedback and I keep moving? And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should listen to my own advice because I'm feeling pretty about myself. And I'm like, right. Yeah, but the story's going to be so much better when I can talk about this big giant failure once the success happens. And I realize that's kind of the pattern I go through over and over and over, right? And I know that you're very, very similar, where it's not like, well, oh shucks, I tried that and I guess I suck. It's like, nope, I'm just going to keep going forwards and make the story better.
But I love the failure or feedback. I love that. I haven't heard that before, and I definitely see. For me, my experience has been, the biggest breakthroughs I've had are, at the end of a breakdown, and that goes with, relationships to my career, to everything. And I think that's like, you just can't get to the breakdown. Like you can't sort of break down all those limiting stuff by being safe.